more to learn from this video. You must say you watch it before. This is different. It's two. So I'll be back. Thank you.
Well, hello and thank you. So we are here in Russia for the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the victory over Nazism. And as you mentioned, yesterday we attended the ceremony, a parade, and also a wreath-laying ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers. I think it's very symbolic. We have learned a lot during this stay. It wasn't just a celebration, but a commemoration of the victory of a new world. So it means a lot to us.
But what about the quality of the parade? What do you think about it?
Yes, as I said, it was perfect, and it taught us a lot. And when they parade the vehicles that won the war, that is the T-34s up to the modern machines, it shows us the technological evolution of the Russian army, and it also inspires us to get to work so that we too can develop in the same direction.
Were there any things that perhaps surprised you, for example?
Surprised? Always. We're always surprised when we see technological advancements. And recently, I think there's a new weapon that has appeared in the Russian military arsenal, Oruchnik, which we were able to see go by, and I think that's very significant.
What is the significance of your presence here as an African head of state? Because we know very well that Africans contributed to the victory of the Allies in the Second World War.
Of course, as I said, Africans and Soviet soldiers contributed greatly to freeing the world from Nazism. And if the world hadn't been freed from Nazism, we don't know what would have happened. So by following the events, I saw that Russia alone lost 1 million soldiers on European soil while fighting. Africa also contributed. Our ancestors fought hard on the European front, mainly in France, Belgium, and Italy, to free the world from Nazism. So it's a shared history that we have.
How did the meeting with the Russian president go?
So for now, we've only had brief meetings, and soon we will have a longer discussion. And it's going very well. Honestly, it's very courteous, it's friendly, it's brotherly, and that's all we ask for, really, when it comes to new cooperation in today's world.
But how would you describe the current state of bilateral relations?
The relationship is going very well, and I can say that for the past 2 years now, things have started off very well between us. And we are currently deepening our cooperation in defense and security, but also in education and later on in trade and other areas. So we have staggered the different areas so that we can exchange a lot, share many experiences, because we also have a lot to learn from Russia in the field of education, especially in the sciences.
Especially in the sciences, but in which fields in particular?
Yes, there are many fields in the sciences, whether it's mathematics, physics, or chemistry. These are fields that interest us greatly, both for the development of our military industry and for the commercial development of our country, the economic development of our country. So these are areas that we will seek to deepen in order to better structure ourselves.
And do you think there is a demand in Burkina for Russian language education?
Of course, there are already many Burkinabe students here in Russia in universities. I even met some this very morning, and I have requested that the number of students here be increased, whether through Russian scholarships or with Burkina paying for scholarships, so that these students can come. But our goal is to establish similar universities in Burkina. And since there is already the House of Russia, that will allow us to move very quickly.
In fact, as you just mentioned, today you visited the Russian university. How did that visit go?
It went very well. I had fruitful discussions with the Russian Minister of Education, with the university presidents and students, especially the AES students who are studying at this university. We had very good exchanges and spoke a lot on scientific matters. That's it.
Let's talk a little bit about the economy. The volume of trade has increased tenfold in 1 year. But on the other hand, these figures do not match the level of political dialogue. How do you explain this paradox? And above all, how can we boost these ties in the area of, well, trade?
As I said, this is a new relationship that is beginning. You know that with Russia, since the year... Why new? Excuse me. Yes, it's starting again because since the years after the death, unfortunately, of Sankara, relations with Russia had faded a lot. And now we are in the process of reviving those relations. The embassy has been established, and trade relations are also at the heart of our exchanges. When I say there are a certain number of Burkinabe products, for example, that used to pass through some European countries before being sold in Russia. Today, these products are sold directly through Burkinabe and Russian operators. I'm talking in particular, for example, about mangoes. Mangoes used to go through European countries before being sold in Russia. Today, it happens directly. There's cotton, which will follow, and many other products, sesame and many other agricultural products, that we will be able to trade directly with Russia. So this is just the beginning. It's going to grow.
Absolutely. In fact, economic forecasts indicate a growth of 100.6% in 2025. So what are the key sectors supporting this growth?
Well, it must be said that up to now in Burkina Faso, gold has been the main export product. But we have set agriculture in motion, first for self-sufficiency, but also for foreign trade and export. If you've been following closely since last year, we launched the Agricultural Offensive with an initiative that supports this effort. The goal is to significantly increase our agricultural production, achieve self-sufficiency, but also there are cash crops that need to be sold abroad, and all of this should be able to support this growth, and we hope to be well above those figures.
But how are these reforms being carried out?
There are a lot of things. These are difficult reforms that must be acknowledged because a system has taken root, but it's not impossible. Already when you look at our cereal production, we've seen very good growth in 2024. In 2025, we hope to do even better. And these are quite courageous reforms. For example, if we look at agriculture, we have, for instance, decided through the offensive initiative to plow our farmers' fields for free. So last year we did it. This year again, God willing, when we return, there are a good number of tractors that we have acquired, which we will make available to the mechanized units in the various departments to increase the cultivated area. We are putting a lot of emphasis on water management through a structure we created, the ONBA, to control water and be able to produce at least 2 or 3 times a year. Because if we rely solely on rainfall, it would be difficult. So there is this sector and also the mining sector, which we will continue to boost so that the country itself can exploit its own resources. We have started acquiring mines. There are many permits that are available, which we are in the process of developing. Our engineers have been able to develop the necessary machines so that we can exploit our resources ourselves. So if we take advantage of these 2 sectors and complement them with industrialization, that is, processing our products locally, which will prevent us from exporting raw materials, it will really help us achieve very strong growth. So these are the reforms that are underway: agriculture, industry, and many other sectors.
Do you think that Russia could provide support for the implementation of these reforms?
Of course.
These reforms?
Of course, a lot of support. Just the technical and vocational training alone is already a very good thing. If we pay for industries, we need people to maintain them and keep them running. And Russia is helping us in this area. That's why I say we have very good cooperation with the Ministry of Education. They will allow us to train technicians and engineers who must be able to maintain everything we do, but also to create our own industrial units. So this is very important for us. And in trade as well, as I just mentioned, things are going very well with Russia. There is no reason why we can't deepen all of this.
Thank you so much, families, for watching up to this stage. If you are still here, it means you love our captain, and thank you for your support for doing that. This part, he was asked about the security. We know recently what is going on about the security, people robbing their mouths, if that's the right word to use, robbing their mouth, putting it out there that Burkina Faso is not secure. Please listen, and I'll be back.
Let's talk a little bit about security. What is the current security situation in your country and, for that matter, in the region?
In the region, as you know, the situation is secure. In any case, we are trying to make progress on the battlefields. And that's the first thing, because there are several factors that come into play. On the battlefields, there is progress. If we look from 2023 to today, we have managed to reclaim many areas that we have been able to pacify. However, the enemy is also getting stronger. There are many foreign fighters joining the ranks of the terrorists.
Could you clarify? What exactly are you referring to?
Yes, the terrorists are being reinforced by many foreign fighters who come from elsewhere, who are not actually... When I look at the case of Burkina, there are many criminals who are in Burkina but who are not Burkinabe. There are also trainers who come from many countries to teach them a lot of techniques.
But what is their interest?
This isn't terrorism, it's imperialism. Their goal is to keep us in a state of permanent war, so that we can't develop and so they can continue to plunder our resources. They have every interest in bringing in specialists in mines to lay various types of mines and specialists in explosives. Today, the terrorists are using drones to fight and everything. It's professionals from certain countries who come to teach them all of this. All of this is to keep us in a state of insecurity. But we are aware of this. We adapt each time to their methods of operation, and we will continue the fight until we have reclaimed the entire Sahel.
Are there specific countries that are funding these fighters?
All the imperialist countries are funding these fighters. There are many of them. We can't name them all individually. Some are even hidden, ones you wouldn't imagine, but there are many.
There are also those who are not hiding and openly declare it. I'm talking about the recent scandal involving support for terrorism in Mali. What is your view on what happened in Mali?
It's unfortunate. They have openly declared that they support the terrorists. We have also clearly noticed through a number of technologies that the terrorists have acquired that these come from them. It's unfortunate, it's very unfortunate, but still we do not feel sorry for ourselves. We have taken stock of the situation, we will adapt, we will fight them, and they will not be able to win. That is what matters most to me.
Thank you so much, families, for listening to this part as well. He was asked about the humanitarian needs that is going on. I said that in one of my videos. The answer was, you feed me once, you will not feed me again. I have to be able to feed myself, and that's what he's doing. Please listen, and I'll be back.
How is humanitarian cooperation between Burkina Faso and Russia progressing?
It is going very well. I think there is a lot of exchange in many areas. When I look at the health sector, because we still have displaced people there, and when we talk about a camp for displaced people, it means there are often complicated health situations. I think the health services are cooperating well to support humanitarian action services so that progress can be made. You saw in 2023, I believe Russia donated wheat to Burkina Faso. It was intended solely for displaced people. But we made a promise to President Putin that we no longer wish to be supplied with wheat because we are going to produce our own wheat. I am keeping that promise because we have started producing our own wheat in sufficient quantities to meet our needs. This means that cooperation in this area is leading us to develop ourselves, to boost many things so that we can fill the gaps.
In light of current geopolitical tensions, particularly the tariff war between the United States and China, how is Burkina Faso adapting its economic and diplomatic strategy?
This world is in constant flux. Sometimes the things we see are just madness. We have to stay alert and be able to adapt at any moment. That is very important because we keep up with current events. There is an economic battle going on almost everywhere, but for us, we trade with China without any problems. We buy a lot of goods from China, and the Chinese also buy many things from us. There are Chinese companies setting up in our country despite the fact that some people have tried to disparage Burkina Faso. It's the same with Russia right now. All the countries that are currently fighting for their economic independence, we are trying to collaborate more closely with these countries because this is a form of oppression by imperialism. It is necessary for those who are oppressed to unite in order to confront this hegemony. So basically, we are adapting to this whole situation.
Mr. President, what is your view on the recent deterioration of relations with Algeria?
You have closely followed the recent events, and I think that everyone now fully understands how this process works. As you may already be aware, we deeply regret the unfortunate and regrettable incident that recently occurred at the Algerian border with the drone that they had shot down. It must be said clearly, this is not friendly. It's not friendly because you don't just shoot down an aircraft like that when everyone knows the protocol, so there's no point in pretending otherwise. If an aircraft crosses your border, even if it enters your country, you identify it. Radars allow you to identify it, and you know which country it belongs to. That's what diplomatic relations are for. You contact the embassy, there are defense attachés, there are many mechanisms. You contact them, and they can confirm whether it's their aircraft or not. If it's on the territory, that's it. Maybe it needs help, or maybe it's lost its bearings, and so on. Because an aircraft can be in the air, there can be problems with the weather. It might have to hide behind the clouds. That happens very often in our countries. So an aircraft enters, we ask about it, and they say no. There are a lot of cloud covers, but in any case, there's some meteorological phenomenon that causes it to pass through. It could have a technical problem. It might request assistance so that we can guide it to land. So there are so many factors that can cause an aircraft to end up in an airspace. We don't shoot down an aircraft automatically. That situation has happened to us. We've often seen an American aircraft enter our territory, conducting reconnaissance and so on. We did not shoot down the aircraft. We made sure to contact the American embassy, who took a few minutes. They confirmed to us that it was their device and they cleared the space. So we don't shoot down an aircraft automatically. So shooting down the aircraft is a deliberate, unfriendly act, and it's regrettable.
But if I understand correctly, you're not closing the door to dialogue, are you?
No. Leaders truly need to fully understand that as responsible leaders, we really have absolutely no choice but to unite together, side by side, in the face of this so-called terrorism circumstance or situation, because it's a rather complex phenomenon. I'm telling you, in 2012, Burkina was just sitting and watching Mali. What were we doing? The regime in power at the time was friendly with those people. Some of them even lived in Ouagadougou. YAG lived in Ouagadougou. That's the reality. But what's happening today? They have turned against us. These are not free people. They are manipulated by the imperialists, and the orders they receive, they pass on to their criminals on the ground, and they carry them out. So everyone needs to understand that we must unite to face this. There is no possible negotiation with these people.
Precisely. Let's talk about this unity, or rather this integration that is currently taking place within the AES. Where do things stand at the moment?
It's going well, it's progressing. So we are in the Confederation, and as I said, there are many things to put in place. That's it, and we shouldn't try to go too fast and end up not doing things properly. So we are moving forward gradually. There are many structures that need to be put in place. There are many areas that need to be brought up to standard in the three countries, because as you know, from an economic standpoint, we are not at the same level. From a military perspective, there are also many aspects. We need to try to balance things out. And so this requires setting up many structures and holding many meetings. And free movement requires a certain number of parameters to be put together. You must have seen that we did a lot of work to come up with a single security document for travel and everything. So it's a process, and it's going very well.
Actually, I had a question about the economic aspect. Is the creation of a currency specific to the AES still on the agenda?
Yes, it's definitely still on the agenda. Of course. And so the process continues. There are a lot of things, how should I put it? A lot of pieces to put in place before we get there. But it's definitely on the agenda, in a way. If we're talking about sovereignty, obviously, we need that kind of sovereignty. So it's imperative.
Can we expect the AES to expand?
Yes, in the future. But for now, as I said, we need to harmonize a lot of things among ourselves, really lay the groundwork, because there will be many additional protocols, as you can see, to harmonize our policies, whether they are diplomatic or economic policies and so on. There are a lot of policies to harmonize before we can allow someone else to join.
But are there already countries that are interested in your format?
Yes, there are countries that are interested. That's right. They might be able to join, maybe, I don't know. For now, the president of the federation is the Malian president. He will be able to give his opinion on the matter, but yes, there are countries that are interested.
How do you explain the decline of French influence in the region? Not just in the Sahel, but also in West Africa, for example.
I think they themselves have contributed to the decline of their influence because they have a paternalistic view of our relations. You see, whenever we take any advice, any initiative we undertake, it's always attributed to Russia. If someone speaks, they say it's because they're influenced by Russia. Everything that happens, it's Russia. Why do they have their eyes closed like that? So Africans aren't capable of developing anything? Africans aren't capable of inventing, innovating, or taking initiatives? That's what we're fighting against. And as long as they keep seeing Africans this way, as subhuman, incapable of thinking, incapable of innovating or inventing, we can never be friends. Times have changed. So it's really about the way they see black people. They need to stop that, because by treating us this way, it's as if they see black people as subhuman. And that's dangerous. They need to change their language.
But how does this attitude show itself?
Look at their speeches. Look at their speeches. Even the French president, always in his speeches, says that young Africans are influenced by Russia. It said, Western media, if you listen to them often, they do nothing but lie all the time. And look today, the AES, which is a model that's taking shape, they can't go a single day without talking about Burkina or the AES. It's impossible for them, and every time they try to spread information, to divide, to manipulate the youth, but it doesn't work anymore. I think people are quite aware now, people have their eyes open. And all of you, you are victims of these people, of their communication, of what they do, what they say about Russia, and everything. We know it. Even today, there are young Africans who still have their eyes closed, who still believe their lies, the narrative about the Second World War. I was listening the other day, someone was saying that at the end of the war, in the 10 years that followed, if you asked people in Europe who won the war, they would say it was Russia. But today, if you ask in Europe who won the war, they will say it was the Westerners. Through communication, they managed to rewrite history. And with African history as well, they schemed everything to spread lies. As a result, some young Africans don't even know the history of Africa, what Africa has accomplished. Some don't even know that our grandparents fought, were put on the front lines as cannon fodder, and when they returned, they were killed like animals. Do people know that when France was testing its first atomic bomb, it was black soldiers they placed nearby in the blast radius to see what effect it would have? Let's bring out the archives. Everything they've used against Africa is terrible. So all of this needs to be communicated so that young Africans understand, because there are still many who are asleep and continue to speak on behalf of the imperialists. They say what they're told to say, maybe because, well, they're given something in return, I don't know. But Africans need to understand their history and wake up. So that's our fight as well, in a way.
What is the role of the media in this struggle, in your opinion? Independent media?
From our side, you mean? The media should really help us a lot. But you see, even our own media, there are some that are actually imperialist media. They only react when European media say something, then they repeat it and amplify it. There are plenty of media outlets in our countries that even fight against regimes like ours. They also spend their time repeating the same nonsense that Western media spread, but it's shameful. If Africans behave like that, it's truly shameful. I imagine they must be ashamed to look at themselves in the mirror at night. If you're paid to spread lies about black people, that's very serious. So we are in the process of raising awareness. In Burkina Faso, if you look right now, many media outlets are supporting the movement, helping to raise awareness among young people through debates and so on. So that's really what we hope for from the media.
Do you think our media can also play its part in this struggle?
Of course, very much so. You have to play a very important role because, as I said in 2023 in St. Petersburg, and I repeat it again today, Russia helped save the world. Africa helped save the world. It needs to be said. Young people need to understand this. All those stories told in Hollywood movies and so on, they're false. It's nothing but lies. It's the same thing. The Vietnam War. Today we see that history is distorted, but we need to communicate. You see, they don't like it when I speak. They think I talk too much and all that. They want me to keep quiet so that they can speak and their version gets through. No. My biggest regret is having spent a good part of my youth listening to radio stations like RFI and France 24. I was in countries where these radio stations were shut down, but we would use apps to record their news broadcasts so we could listen. But at some point, something clicked, and I started to realize that they were conditioning our minds to accept whatever they wanted. It's their narrative that they want us to learn. And since then, I started to see things differently and realized that what they're doing is very dangerous. And today, more than ever, I realize that they have conditioned the minds, especially of Africans. So you can do a lot to help awaken the consciousness of young people so that people understand how the world works and don't let themselves get carried away by those people.
My very last question, just to end on a positive note, what are the prospects for relations between Russia and Burkina Faso, in your opinion?
There are many prospects ahead. As I said, with the parade I saw, I think there is very good cooperation because It's good for now. We are buying equipment, but we need to develop the military industry, for example. And Russia can contribute a lot. You know that Russia has many scientists, many scholars who are Russian. As proof, we just left Mendeleev University. They can support us a lot in training so that we can also excel. Because in our country, we have young talents, geniuses who manage to create things, but they lack the mathematical input, the science to be able to improve what they do. So Russia can help us a lot in this area. This will help us on the military front, on the industrial front, because it is machines that make the world go round. And today, with the technology that exists, whether it's IT, networks, telecommunications, and so on, Russia is collaborating a lot in this area. So, in the future, all these prospects are being prioritized so that we can achieve a definite goal that we desire.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for this very interesting and enriching discussion. Let me remind you, that was the President of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, families, for listening and watching. I hope you have taken one or two things from this video. So if you listen to any information going out, you can add 1 and 2 together. Is that how they say it? Or 2 and 2 together to find out whether it is true or not. This is what is going on. Many of you here, my families, knows all that is going on. So yes, we'll add this to the documentary that we are making here. God bless you all. May all their dreams and their wishes come true. And concerning the misinformations and the rest, no one can stop that. It will just intensify because it is through that they can get their wishes come true. What is left with us is also to try and put the truth out there. That's all I can say. Thank you, my families. Credit to Fry Africa. Thank you so much for receiving our captain, Ibrahim Traoré, in your country and look after him until he get back to his own soil, to his people. So we thank you. We thank Russia, China, and all other countries that are helping these 3 countries to stand on their feet, including Turkey as well. Families, I will leave you here. Thank you so much. And I'll try if I can speak in Russia to thank them. Thank you. I will see you soon. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful day. Like it, share it if you like what you hear. Готовы поджарить Африку. Огромное вам спасибо за то, что приняли нашего капитана Ибрагима Траоре в вашей стране и присмотрели за ним, пока он не вернется на свою родную землю, к своему народу. Поэтому мы благодарим вас. Мы благодарим Россию, Китай и все другие страны, которые помогают этим 3 странам встать на ноги, включая также Турцию. Дорогие семьи, на этом я с вами прощаюсь. Большое спасибо за ваше время.